I'm Jamila Rizvi and welcome to The Briefing. It's the latest news headlines to your headphones this Tuesday, 6 October. Today on The Briefing, Tom and Jan take a deep dive on Sweden and whether or not their controversial coronavirus plan has actually worked.
I see a mask here and there, but, I might have seen 20 in this whole year.
But before that, Annika Smethurst and I are here together and we are going to get really, really geeky about the federal budget and the other big news of the day.
It's one of the most important federal budgets in history.
The Treasurer is putting his final touches to the federal budget, which has been billed as the most important since World War II.
Most Australians will not have had a federal budget like this in their lifetimes.
It's better late than never, Annika, when it comes to tonight's federal budget.
That's right, Jam. Usually handed down in May, this year's budget has been delayed by many months, but tonight's the night. Although, thanks to some quiet chats with press gallery journalists, we already know a lot of the detail. There'll be help for first home buyers, salary help for apprentices, and wage subsidies for 700,000 young Aussies.
But one of the biggest talking points today is plans to bring forward tax cuts which were originally scheduled to start in July 2022.
And not just bring them forward, those tax cuts will also be backdated to July this year. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that since June, your employer has probably been deducting more tax from your pay than required, likely giving you more money when you do next year's tax return.
So overall, if these changes pass the parliament, and that seems likely, they'll increase the country's take-home pay by more than $12 billion. But who cares about that? What's in it for you? Low and middle income workers will take home an extra $1,080 each year. There'll be $2,656 for people earning upwards of 90 grand and a bit more again for those earning $120,000 or more. There's a pattern there, Annika.
The richer you are, the more you earn, the more you're going to take home. So that's more money for you, and the government want you to spend it. But this is where the problem is. The latest ABS data showed us that households were actually saving almost a fifth of their income in June. That's up from 6% in March and even more from the year before. So getting people to actually go out and get their money into the economy, which the government wants you to do, is really difficult.
So those of us who've got money in this tricky, tight economy are saving it because we're worried about the future. So shouldn't we be trying to get money into the hands of people who don't have it, who are going to spend it on the basics?
That is a real problem, and that's why welfare groups and a bunch of other sort of supporters of this really aren't exactly a fan of this plan. They get that getting money into the economy is a good idea, but getting people to spend it is difficult. Now, last week, Scott Morrison was asked about this, and he did say that he doesn't want to tell Australians what to do with their money, which is a good policy in theory, but it's not going to help stimulate the economy in the way that is perhaps needed.
The conspiracy theorists are in overdrive with the news over the weekend that US President Donald Trump has been diagnosed with coronavirus and been admitted to hospital.
I am here for my president and I want him to get well and I wish him well and just here for the support and show him that we're out here, we care for him and we love him.
That's just one of the fans who's been gathering outside the hospital in support of the US president. While there's also been claims he's both faking his diagnosis and also that he's actually a lot sicker than his doctors are letting on.
So it's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it and I understand it.
He gets it and he understands it, Annika. It's good that's finally happened. There are now more than 15 other cases linked to Trump after leaving the hospital over the weekend for a drive-by in his motorcade with a bunch of staff in the car. This was so he could show fans that he was doing all right. And that does seem to be the case. It's looking like he could actually be discharged sometime later today.
As a former staffer, I'm sure you wouldn't have been too keen on getting in a car with one of your former bosses, Jamila. But look,
no, thank you.
He's obviously been tweeting during all of this, of course. Last night, there was something like 18 tweets in the space of an hour encouraging Americans to vote and showing off some of his other policies too.
18 tweets in an hour, that definitely sounds like him. It's been a wild weekend of news, hasn't it, Annika?
Incredible. And I think, look, I didn't know if this was going to help him or hinder him, but I felt like it was a bit of a turning point when he did that stunt in the car yesterday. I don't know how many people are going to be too impressed with that.
Cardinal George Pell is back across the news today, with his lawyers wanting a global investigation into what they say are baseless new claims.
Yeah, stories were published by an Italian newspaper claiming a rival of Pell, Cardinal Giovanni Becciu, used Vatican money to pay an Australian witness who gave evidence against Pell in a sexual assault case. Becciu and Pell, both high-ranking members of the Vatican, have been involved in an internal feud since at least 2016.
And nonetheless, lawyer Robert Ricker QC says it's the responsibility of both Australian and international authorities to investigate this. And this, of course, all comes just a couple of months after Pell's sex offence convictions were overturned by the High Court. Now, Tom and Jan are jumping in to look at just how successful Sweden's controversial coronavirus plan has actually been.